Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reconvene Sessions. My name is Larry Sun, and I'm a Senior Community Marketing Manager at Eventbrite. I'll be your host today, live from Los Angeles. So for those who are new to Reconvene Sessions, welcome everybody. Eventbrite's Reconvene Sessions is our ongoing event series featuring the creators and event entrepreneurs that inspire us. First, I'm going to do a quick tutorial of our streaming platform. We have our chat thread on the right. Everyone can join in on the conversation there. Below where you see me in the live video, there's an overview of today's event, information on all of our speakers. If you wish to connect with them, you'll find links to all their social media there. Next to the overview, you're going to see a tab for questions. This is where you can drop in anything that you'd like to ask the speakers today throughout the event, and you can upvote questions that you like from others. So to get us started today, let's get right into it. I have a prompt for those of you that are already in the chat. So I would like everyone to let us know how important the holidays are to your event business. So on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being very low, holidays aren't something you prioritize, to 5 meaning really important, it's where your best events thrive. Please drop that number in the chat. All right, well, today's session, of course, is all about the holidays. For event entrepreneurs, the holidays can be a new revenue stream, a way for you to connect deeper with your existing fans and community, and a way to give experiences that will keep people coming throughout the new year. Here's what we have planned for the next hour. First up, we're going to meet Kae Burke, co-founder and creative director of House of Yes out in Brooklyn, New York. We'll hear from Kae how she taps into the holidays to program some of the most creative, wild, and unique parties that resonate with their attendees year over year. Then we're going to hear from Weil, Vice President for Education and Public Programs at the Greenwood Cemetery. Harry and the Greenwood Cemetery have created an ambassador program and unique gifting experiences that are innovative yet pay homage to their historic, timeless space. Finally, we're going to meet Javeri Kadri, the CEO and founder of Diaspora Co., the radically equitable and sustainable spice company that deeply connects their community of customers through collaborative holiday pop-up shops, limited handcrafted products, their Discord channel, and so much more. After the interviews, Kae, Harry, and Sana will join us for a live Q&A, so you don't want to miss that. So make sure you all stick around. Looking at the chat, looks like a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s, a lot of people, real holidays are very important to your event business. That's great. If you're kind of more on the, 1 to 2 side of that scale, you're going to learn something as well from our speakers today. So we got a lot of great gems that we're going to be dropping. Last thing before we get started, the chat will be monitored, so harassment of any kind will not be tolerated. So let's keep the vibes positive here at Reconvene Sessions. And after the event, a full recording of today's session will be posted with closed captions on Eventbrite's YouTube channel. Our first speaker is Kae Burke, the co-founder and creative director of House of Yes. House of Yes is a nightclub concept in Brooklyn, which began as a humble DIY art space in 2007 and has since evolved into a world-renowned venue and performance space that hosts inclusive events with a focus on creating inspiring experiences for all. As an artist, performer, and experience designer, Kae's energy is focused on making the world a better place by building imaginative spaces and experiences that inspire self-expression and bring people together to celebrate life. Kae's here today to share a behind-the-scenes look at the holiday strategy behind House of Yes's incredibly creative and fun parties that are always talked about. Please welcome Kae Burke. Hey, Kae, welcome.
Hello, hi.
How's it going?
Super good. How are you?
I'm good. So welcome to Reconvene Sessions. Today we're talking about how one stands out during the holidays. Of course, you're here talking about House of Yes. I mean, House of Yes has no challenges standing out all year round, from your venue, the programming, all the talented performers, DJs. I mean, 2 of my favorites, Eli Escobar and Rich Medina, hold it down, of course, over there. So you create events that are fun, they're different, they're, I think on your Instagram says like wild, weird, wonderful. They're really personal to your community. So is there a typical holiday season, or what does that holiday season even look like for House of Yes?
Sure. So our holiday season really starts with Halloween and goes all the way through to our House of Yes anniversary, which is the week after New Year's Eve. So it's a pretty long arc of holidays, so to speak.
Yeah. So what goes into like the planning of that? Is that something that you're thinking about throughout the year and planning ahead? I mean, what does that look like in terms of, yeah, just as you being behind the scenes and thinking about what to do with your events for the holidays?
Sure. I mean, I would say that we get inspired all year round. What's funny about us planning our holidays, like we plan Christmas and New Year's in summer. So it'll be somewhere in July that we sit down and have our Q4 creative meeting where we start putting ideas onto the calendar. And what's fun is that we start to refine those ideas even as far as September. We might start to do the creative and do the design and do
Right.
the copy for the event and then be like, you know what? For instance, we have this party for New Year's Eve coming up, and the concept was originally last party on Earth, end of the world. And we're like, that's a bit too dark right now. Like, let's go for something that's elevating and more about finding your future utopian um, fantasy self in more of like a glamour sci-fi setting. So we were able to almost like we take our original ideas and tweak them into something and refine them until they're ready to launch.
That's cool. So is it something that repeats every year? Do you bring back traditions? How do you think about that with the holidays? I mean, is it just like if you're a fan of House of Yes, there's going to be something new and different every year?
Yes, it's absolutely a blend.
Okay.
There are some things we bring back, like the House of Yes Christmas Spectacular or
Mhm.
Xmas Spectacular, which is our longest running show. And the show is different every year. But the fact that we do the show is our tradition. I believe we're on our 11th year of the holiday show. And so that's super fun. And of course, every year we have a New Year's Eve party, but it's a different theme every year. So past years we've done Gala Galactica. I think we did Y2K. It's always somehow it ends up usually being a sci-fi flavored theme. As far as like, oh, we're going into the future, it's a pretty obvious choice for us. Be like, oh, the future means futurism means this sort of uh cool sci-fi band. I think we had like an almost like Y2K. We're like, oh, let's go 90s into future sort of concept, which is different than this year. So in short, yeah, we like to stick to some of our traditions, especially if we see that those events sell out and that our audience expects those events and loves those events. And then of course we like to switch it up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you one of your upcoming events is the It's Giving Thanksgiving Throwback Rave. So when you're programming something like that, that's such creative, unique approaches to holiday parties and events. I mean, you're doing something new every time, and you're really tapping into a holiday. Like, what do you think about when you're doing that? Like, how do you know that's going to resonate with your community? Do you do any kind of research, anything like that?
I think like it's funny because our creative brainstorming a lot of times is within our House of Yes world, but we have so many performers, so many creatives, so many artists, and then of course the DJs, the people that book the DJs. There's almost this creative sort of think tank that lives and works at House of Yes. And so for something like It's Giving, obviously that wasn't really the term a year or two ago, but now it's a funny term. So for us, we think if we think it's funny, we'll spread around the room, be like, oh, is this like, I don't know, guys, what do you think? Like Thanksgiving, it's giving. We're like, that's funny to us. And so we hope it'll be funny to our audience too. There might be some people that are in an older demographic in our audience that don't get it because they don't say, yes, it's giving. or like it's giving sci-fi. So for us, yeah, what we think is funny collectively we'll bounce ideas
Mhm.
around and then it'll make it to the calendar. Some ideas of the history of our Dirty Thursday happens every Thursday.
Yeah.
Obviously, some holidays fall on a Thursday, like Thanksgiving. It's always on a Thursday. And we learned that people do actually want to go dancing after their big dinner. So it is a tradition for us to have a Thanksgiving ish Thursday. Past themes include dirty turkeys, because Dirty Thursday presents Dirty Turkeys. And then that one kind of felt like, I don't know, turkeys aren't that sexy or
Right.
funny. Like it's kind of, we're kind of like, guys, it's like collectively we'll have a conversation. So I don't know, this party isn't hitting. Like if
Yeah.
we don't think it's funny, if we don't think it's cool, other people
Yeah.
probably won't think that either. So last year we did pumpkin spice, which was funny. Like we're like, oh, that's funny. It's kind of like the Spice Girls. It's kind of like pumpkin spice is the sixth Spice Girl. That was kind of funny. So yeah, this year we'll see how it's giving goes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then how do you know if folks are feeling it? Like, what do you do after the fact? I mean, of course, tickets, of course, things like that. But I mean, you're doing so many things that is like art in itself, and it's so creative. So like, how do you know if like people are really vibing with it?
Yeah, you kind of, it's almost like you have like a vibometer, and then it's funny, people have their own, even our own crew that comes to, the people that work at House of Yes obviously will have an opinion. The DJs will have their own opinion as well, as far as like how they felt the audience was, dancing and communicating with their sound and their music. But it's interesting. We do, every event has a DMR, the daily manager report, and so it has the numbers, like how did the bar do, how were ticket sales, how were door sales, also an important factor. Oh, were there a lot of walk-ups? Like maybe people didn't plan to go out on Thanksgiving, but then the night of, they decided to go out, right? Like that's
Mhm.
a very important factor. But really included in the DMR is the recap of the party. And so yeah, and so it's really like a bit opinion based, but typically we don't really do exit surveys at House of Yes. We do, people are our audience is very responsive. We can see how many people share stories on Instagram. Like if people are really loving it, our Instagram bumps are going crazy, and you can see if a party's more chill, people aren't really sharing and tagging and talking and commenting, right? And so that's also a pretty solid gauge.
Cool. Nice, definitely. And then like thinking about seasonality, I mean, people watching right now, there's folks in nightlife. What types of challenges does nightlife venue have to consider during the holiday season?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a few that come to mind. One is people's energy levels. So right? So people, especially on the holidays, there's not just competition as far as nightlife, but uh, private dinner gatherings and their company party. And people can almost become over socialized at a certain point. And so understanding, um, for instance, like we used to have the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, because like, oh, it's a lot of people have off. That's going to be a rager of a night, and historically that was a huge popular night on Wednesdays, and we've seen the numbers dip on
Yeah.
that Wednesday before. And we're like, cool, maybe people are over socialized, so we actually turned that into a private staff party as a thank you. So that's now a thank you party for our staff rather than trying to have this huge banger of a party. So anyway, one thing, people's energy levels, sometimes Christmas, Hanukkah, even Kwanzaa they fall on different dates every year, right? Sometimes it's on a Sunday, sometimes it's on a Saturday, and you're like, man, I don't know, like, are we open on that Saturday if it's Christmas, right? Like, how do we negotiate the calendar, understanding that people are traveling and maybe are choosing to spend time with their families or resting instead of being at a dance party.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of adaptability. You're thinking about people's energies, stepping into their shoes, thinking about their motivations. Outside of the folks at your place, I mean, do you think about competition? Do you look at trends happening, or do you kind of tap into that, or do you kind of like immediately veer left and pave the way for something else?
It's fun. I'd say it's a mix.
Hmm.
A lot of other places um, lean into their artist bookings, and are really promoting the DJs that are happening that night, and so it's not so immersive, experiential, theme heavy. So that's one thing to consider. I mean, there is absolutely competition. Something like New Year's Eve. Anybody that throws a party is typically having a New Year's Eve party. So understanding if I was seeing, let's say, a bunch of other clubs were having a sci-fi theme, we would probably rethink that, just to be like, if we were feeling like, oh, this, just to stand out and maintain that sort of unique edge. Yeah, we would definitely try to spin and rethink so that we're not contributing to sort of like monotonous options out there in the market.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's like a certain like spontaneity is like huge in like the best party moments, party memories. And I think that, or I know that House of Yes is really fostering that with what you've built and, the community and this living organism of everybody involved that you've been sharing with us today. So, it's really, really exciting to hear it from you firsthand. But I've one more question. It's, what's next? What are you all planning to do to just kind of, whether it's, 2024 or beyond, like what's next for House of Yes? What can we expect?
Ooh, a couple things. One, so we actually have a new room that opened last year. So if you haven't been to House of Yes or haven't been in a while, there are now 2 spaces. Most of them are mostly active, especially on weekends. And so we have our main room of music as well as the Onyx room, our new space. And so the Onyx room is really cool. It's a smaller, cozier, sort of intimate dance floor with lower ceilings. The DJ is right on the dance floor with you. And so it has a very different cozy energy. Rich Medina plays in there. He has his home party there, which is super cool. So it's a really interesting sort of, has this fancy living room sort of vibe instead of this psychedelic circus nightclub sort of vibe. So I personally really enjoy when both rooms are open for one party, and then you can explore the sort of expressions within one theme. So that's pretty new. So we're going to keep programming that. We have I don't know if I can say bad words on this, but we have a party it's like a pop-up strip club called Nasty Bitch, we started on Nasty Wednesdays, and now we're moving it to Thursdays in the Onyx room. So that's an exciting sort of development for 2024. Yeah, I think we're just going to keep rocking and rolling and doing more shows, having more fun.
Cool. Well, that's rad. Well, thank you so much, Kae. Really appreciate you being on here. Stick around. I mean, folks are buzzing in our chat. We're going to talk soon in our live Q&A. So thank you so much, Kae.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll see ya. Well, thank you, Kae Burke and House of Yes. I mean, it was so fascinating to hear about the ideation process of nights at a nightclub and nightlife and how you bring some of the wildest and weirdest holiday parties to life. So I want to share 3 key takeaways from my chat with Kae. First, define your event personality and program to make it shine. I mean, Kae and House of Yes have a sense of humor that really touches every event that's hosted in their space, from the vampire ball to sci-fi holiday parties. Their personality really shines through all of their events, and community really loves them for it. On that note, take a temperature read of your community and create what they crave. Establish relationships with everyone to hear, what was a hit and what could you improve on for the next time around. But like, feel out what people are looking for during each holiday, from yoga session to rager, program to meet that need. Lastly, program for the opposite of what you see in the scene. Understand what the competition is doing during the holidays and find your own niche and unique concept that you can bring to your city. It'll be refreshing for your attendees, plus allow you to really create your own lane in holiday event programming. So those are just 3 of my takeaways from my conversation with Kae. Please drop in the chat what you learned. Thank you again, Kae Burke and House of Yes. Our next guest is Harry Weil, the Vice President for Education and Public Programs at the Greenwood Cemetery. Since 2016, he and his amazing team have been producing over 300 public programs a year at Greenwood, including art installations, concerts, dance performances, walking and trolley tours, and other immersive events. Harry's here today to share the Greenwood Cemetery's approach to the holidays through gifting, volunteering, and creating custom experiences in their timeless space. Let's all welcome Harry Weil. Harry, how's it going?
Hey, great to see you. Thanks for having me here, Larry.
Yeah, good to see you. So, welcome to Reconvene Sessions. And as you know, what we're talking about today is how one stands out during the holidays. And it's really great to have you. We're big fans of Greenwood
Oh,
Cemetery.
thanks.
I mean, the Greenwood is both it's a timeless, beautiful space, but it's also one that reimagines itself with all of your different events, with Nightfall during Halloween. I've seen scavenger hunts with prizes, after hour tours, film screenings, you name it. It's really incredible. It's really unique, and the curation is so respectful at the same time of the space. So, really, just props to you.
Oh,
And
thanks so much.
on that note, we're talking about the holidays. You have Nightfall for Halloween. With that in mind, what do you think about when you're programming after that?
Yeah, the winter is a pretty quiet time here. It gets pretty, for the most part. I mean, sometimes we get snow in New York City. Last year we didn't have any, but it gets pretty cold here. And so we sort of go quiet-ish. We like to stay, but we still have at least 4 or 5 tours, during the week in December, January, and February. And especially during the holidays, you get a lot of those out-of-town visitors who want to come in and see the magic of New York. So whether it's Times Square, Rockefeller Center, the Metropolitan Museum, we try to lure them in. It's like, why be with those crowds? You can be with crowds anywhere. You can come to New York and discover something unique and special at Greenwood. And so we offer these greatest hits walking tours for first time visitors. And the hope is they fall in love with the place and they're going to come back on their next trip to New York. Or maybe they'll come back and bring people or tell people to come back and visit us here.
That's cool. So it's a lot of folks that maybe are going for the first time. And I mean, I guess how do you kind of make them become, I don't know, a super fan, or if it's local folks, how do you kind of build that community a bit? And what does that look like?
Yeah, we assume, we want to show people who are coming for a tour everything. We want to show them as much as possible about how wonderful the space is. Even if it's freezing, even if there's a dusting of snow, even sometimes in the rain, we still want them to get excited about Greenwood. And we don't assume anyone's an aficionado of history, of art, or nature. It really is about the greatest hits. And it's about having the energy. So when we're training our tour guides, so much about is, having a conversation with the visitor. So this isn't you presenting, it's you getting them excited about this place and getting them excited to come back, even if it's not a tour. We're open 365 days a year. So even if they come back and just pick up a map or download our app, we want them to feel excited and that there's so much to discover. So that's why we just do the greatest hits. It's like, we got you for 90 minutes. We're not going to hold you captive, but in those 90 minutes, we want to really show you the best of what we do. And then hopefully they'll want to come back.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you think about kind of how people refer others, and it's
Mhm.
the holidays. So, is there any types of like gifting or anything like that
Oh,
that you do at Greenwood?
okay, so the public tours are great, but a private tour is even better. So you
Okay.
get to go at your own pace. You can work with a tour guide, and maybe it's like, oh, I like Civil War history, or oh, I want to know more about the plants or the trees at Greenwood. And you don't have to do it during the holiday season. So, you book a private tour, and it's something that never expires. You get a gift certificate, so you can mail it to them or put it in a personalized card. And they get to come whenever they want. And they could choose anywhere between just themselves or up to 40 people for a tour, which is great. So you can bring as many people as you want to come into the space and discover it. And then again, you can also be able to sort of fine tune it to what you're interested in learning or discovering about. But those private tours are really great because, as I was mentioning with the tour guide, it's about having a conversation. So, our public tours can be up to 30 or 40 people, but what if just 4 people or 5 people? What a great intimate experience in this space that's over 478 acres.
No, that's really cool. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you there's a spirit of kind of giving back during the holidays. You're
Hmm.
really like taking that and like continuing it forward. And I mean, because they can take that tour throughout the year, right? So it's kind of keeping a holiday kind of program going on, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's ways that, like, I mean, again, Greenwood is beautiful throughout the year, I think, but hey, winter is not for everyone. Or if you have someone who's coming into town and they're coming for spring break, it's like, oh, I have the best hidden little gem off the beaten path thing for you to see. Oh, it's Greenwood. And they already have that gift certificate. And what a great gift for someone because they already have one thing on their agenda sort of booked and taken care of. So they don't have to worry or stress out about buying the tickets themselves or finding what to do on their own.
Well, that's really great to hear. I mean, when you're thinking about a cemetery, I think about longevity. I think about retaining the
Mhm.
memories of all the people there, and you're doing that with the fans, with your community, with the ambassadors that you're building
Mhm.
up. So, what does it mean to be an ambassador of the Greenwood? What do folks that
Yeah.
are big fans of the cemetery, kind of flaunt and tell other folks about when they're spreading the word?
Yeah, I mean, one of our goals at Greenwood is to expand our audience to make people, whether they've never been here before and they come all the time, feel welcomed and feel appreciated in
Yeah.
the space. Whether we're engaging them in a program or they're just walking around in their own. And many people don't have family or loved ones buried at Greenwood. So how are we going to connect with them? And our ambassadors program is such a great way. We have over 300 active ambassadors, which are our volunteers, and they're the backbone of the cemetery. I mean, those are the people you see them greeting you at the gate, welcome you to Greenwood. Oh, do you have a map? Oh, wait, hold on. You should download the app before you go in there. Oh, wait, maybe you want to come on a tour. Oh, there is a tour starting in an hour. Can we sell you a ticket? Really engaging people and making them feel welcomed. At 478 acres, it is a really wide open space. And so we want to make sure people, when they're coming in those doors, they're sort of like set in the right direction. Again, whether it's for a tour or whether it's just to
Mhm.
explore on their own. And those ambassadors, and every season, it could be rainy or snowy or windy, and they are out there and they're so enthusiastic to share their love for Greenwood with other people. So we're always actively recruiting new ambassadors. And, we work with them to figure out, like, do you want to do gate greetings? Do you want to be more behind the scenes? Are you a great photographer? Can we, use some of your photos on our Instagram? So really encouraging, sort of what they want to gain out of the
Mhm.
volunteer experience at Greenwood and how we could sort of usher and help them with that.
Yeah, so that's cool. So you're really being flexible and you're thinking about it's not just choose your own adventure on the cemetery tours. You really want to make sure that the ambassadors are doing something that they're really passionate about because they're giving their time to volunteer, right?
Yeah, and they're also forming community, which is really important too. So we try as much as possible to make it a community building exercise. So there's always time before a program or after a program that we're gathering everyone together. They can get to know each other. We have a weekly email that we send out and we highlight the ambassadors. So, if it's an accomplishment, if someone's a new theater production or they got an award or they graduated or their kid graduated, we want them to feel like they're part of a community and it's not just free labor or free service. That, coming and being an ambassador here is really a way to make connections that can be lifelong.
Well, I love how these tours give somebody a personalized gift and a personalized experience they can gift to somebody. Well, what are some other creative ways you think that folks watching here, from whether they're from the nonprofit space or another space, can think about experience gifting and anything that you do that you recommend or have thought of?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is always looking for, I know I am, like the unique gift. Like, what is the thing that's going to be like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. And I think those private tours and how they can get personalized are really, really special. But, for us, it's not about reinventing the wheel with, gifting at the end of the year. So it's not like we're creating something specific just for, holiday gifting, but how can we take what we have and rebrand it a little bit, repackage it a little bit? Like, what's the marketing and the messaging? So at Greenwood, we do adopt a tree and a bench, which is usually for someone who has recently passed away, or maybe they passed away years ago. People, holidays is a time for gathering together and for remembering, family and friends who are no longer with us. So it's really a great time for us, to message, we have these beautiful trees. We have over 7,000 trees at Greenwood. Why don't you find the one that's right for you? Why don't you find the one that feels special to you? And we'll put a plaque on it, commemorating, a loved one of yours. And the same thing with a bench as well. We also have beehives at Greenwood. We have a special honey called the Sweet Hereafter, and it's only available to those who adopt a beehive. So you can do half a beehive or a whole beehive, and that'll determine how much of the honey that you get. So we already have these beehives, on site, and it's a great way to make people feel like, oh, when they come in and they see it, it's like, oh, I'm a sponsor of that. That could be my bee here. Those are my bees, flying around in the cemetery. And so whether it's a bench or a tree or a beehive, it makes people have that deeper connection to that cemetery. Oh, that's the tree I adopted. That's the bench, I got from my mother who passed away. Oh, and those are the bees, and I love honey, and I love that I'm helping the wildlife here at the cemetery. And again, it's all stuff that we already do 365 days a year, but using the holidays as a way to market it differently.
That's so cool. I mean, beehives and Earth even knew that existed. How long have you all been doing that?
Oh gosh, those beehives are probably about 10 years old now. So we don't have that many hives. They don't yield that much honey. So that's why it's only for the people who are adopting. And that name, the sweet hair after, like who doesn't want to get a jar of that for the holidays?
No, that's beautiful. That's really cool. I mean, diving back a bit, how did you kind of develop this? So if there's folks that are watching here, they're event entrepreneurs, maybe they're working as part of a nonprofit organization. How did this whole program kind of develop and get to where it is now? And how do you kind of reiterate upon it?
Yeah, I think we've always had a loyal fan base. I've been at Greenwood for 7 years, and the volunteer program extends way before my time. But when I started working here, and Gabrielle Gatto, who is our coordinator of public programs and runs the Ambassadors Volunteer Program, really wanted to professionalize it. And one of the things she said was that you have to reward people, and it's not financial reward. It's not like, oh, here's a gift, but you have to make them feel appreciated. And again, part of a community. So even if I'm just walking around giving high fives
Yeah.
to everyone, before an event or after an event, that they feel seen and appreciated. So we give them shout outs from the stage. When we send follow-up emails, we'll list out all the volunteers, we'll thank an attendee for coming, but say, but like, we really want to thank our volunteers who help make that possible. So you want them to feel appreciated and recognized, and that the community you're building with them is one that's, going to be fruitful for everyone, that they're getting something out of being an ambassador. And it's not just about their service, but what can we do to show our thanks and appreciation for them.
Cool. That's cool. So anybody that's watching that attends, free high fives from Harry when they show up.
Totally. Yeah. But only if you volunteer. Only if you volunteer, you can get high fives. Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. That's part of the package. Cool. One more question is, what kind of research do you do when you're looking into your community and understanding what resonates and, with just changing needs and different motivations for folks to be a part of Greenwood, whether it's an attendee or whether it's a volunteer? What do you do? Are there surveys or anything like that you do?
Yeah, so actually with the volunteers, they are our eyes and ears. They are out on the grounds more than I will ever be. So we love hearing their feedback. So when we have opportunities in those gatherings before or after a program, it's like, oh, hey, has anyone heard anything recently? Oh, did you see that new sign we put up? What do you think about that? Because, hey, Jane, you're always at that gate. Is that sign working or not? So really make sure we're constantly having this conversation. Surveys are great, but I think those in-person conversations are so important because, people fill out surveys for everything. It's clickbait everywhere. So, making sure those conversations happen in person has been really important for us because they feel like we're giving them that face time. And I think that's really important. We also have community ambassadors who we work with. So we've identified at Greenwood leaders of other local organizations. And so being able to connect with them and chat with them, even casually over coffee, just to talk about what's new, at your organization, what are you working on? Can we help support you? Do you need a social media boost? Do you need something in your email? And vice versa too. So there's this sense of support and then building an understanding of what can Greenwood do. Oh, do you need a site for, a performance, or do you need help selling tickets? Whatever it might be, how we can support each other in the ways that we can.
No, that's really cool. I mean, it seems like you just do a great job of tapping into volunteers and connecting with them on a really personal level. So I really love that. I mean, I learned so much just from this conversation. And yeah, I mean, really just how you interact and connect with folks. It's really, really cool.
And recruiting volunteers during the holiday season, I think, is really great because it's like, you can make a one-time donation to an organization, but your time throughout the year is so much more valuable to us. And so that's something we really try to message as we try to get volunteers to bring in new people that they may know who wants to join our community.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we really love everything you shared about Greenwood.
Oh, thanks.
You've built. We look forward to having our live Q&A with everybody watching here. I'm sure everybody has tons of questions, but thank you so much, Harry, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I'll give you a high five when I meet you in person one day.
Awesome.
I promise.
Looking forward to it. I'll see you.
Great. Thanks so much, man.
Wow, it was so fun chatting with Harry. Shout out to all the beehives at the Greenwood Cemetery. It was really cool. So thank you, Harry, for sharing the many ways that you connect with ambassadors. of Greenwood during the holidays and how you bring in new ones throughout the year. So I want to share 3 of my favorite takeaways from our conversation. First, don't reinvent the wheel. So double down and expand on what's working. Harry and the Greenwood, they found ways to expand on holiday gifting by looking in their literal backyard, from sponsoring benches to beehives and gifting batches of honey. The Greenwood has really leaned into their physical space to create experience gifting opportunities. Our second takeaway was connect with your volunteers and empower them to be your ambassadors. The Greenwood's volunteer program, it feels personal. So design your volunteer program to be something that the volunteers are passionate enough about to spread the word to their wider community. My third takeaway is choose your own adventure. Let attendees shape a custom experience. The Greenwood Cemetery's customized tours allows attendees to create their own path based on what they're interested in. So if you create these different moments, it not only gives attendees a unique experience that they'll love, but keeps them coming back to really see the space a different way the next time around. So once again, thank you, Harry. For everyone watching, let us know in the chat discussion what you learned from Harry Weil and the Greenwood Cemetery. Now, for our final speaker, before we welcome them all up for a live Q&A, I would like to introduce Javeri Kadri, the CEO and founder of Diaspora Co., a direct trade spice company working towards a radically equitable, sustainable, and more delicious spice supply chain. She founded Diaspora Co. in 2017 with a budget of $8,000. It has grown 23 times over to become a nationally acclaimed, beloved spice brand that champions more than 200 regenerative family farms and more than 1,500 farm workers, paying them 4 times the commodity price for fresher, more flavorful spices. Diaspora Co. aims to set the bar for what equity and quality can look like in the global spice trade. Sana recently joined us from Mumbai, India, and let's jump into that conversation with Javeri Kadri. Hey, Sana. How's it going?
Good. I'm excited to chat about all the things, especially Q4.
Definitely. Well, it's so good to see you. This is Reconvene Sessions. Our theme right now is how I stand out during the holidays. We were really excited to talk to you about Diaspora Co. because, you really have such a robust Q4. One of the things that I saw was the pop-ups that you've done, and really just wanted to dive into everything Q4, everything kind of holiday season. What do you do? So I guess maybe just starting on that note, what do you have planned? Can you talk a little bit about kind of your pop-ups that you do and how you connect with your community?
Yeah, so Q4 for us is our busiest period of the year. We do about 40% of our revenue in the tail end of Q4. So it's really heavily weighted towards the holidays. Last year, we threw a very big splashy pop-up in New York City. Over 13 days, we had one event or multiple events every single day. We saw 1,300 people in our first weekend. And this year we're doing a smaller pop-up in Los Angeles. But really, we start prepping. We used to start prepping for Q4 in August, and we thought we were so on top of it. And now we start prepping for Q4 the year before. Pretty seriously, I know what we're doing next October, November, December right now already. We have the full thing planned out and mapped out. This year, for this holiday season, we started planning, I think, in February.
Mm-hmm. What does that kind of look like in terms of planning? What's important to you, so early on, to get it right? What do you're still even kind of getting learnings from the last pop-up. So
yeah. So there's some of it, which is just logistical, right? Which is our business relies on spices and products made in South Asia that then have to make their way across the world to America. So that itself can take 6 months, just that production cycle, right? So one is prepping for that. But the other one is when we're thinking about the holidays, we're thinking about, okay, what do we need to get to gift editors way in advance? Usually those gift guides are formalized in July, August, September. So that means we have to have finished sexy photos to give editors starting in July. So that's one of like, what is all the PR giftable stuff that we have available? On the other hand, it's like, okay, we're very focused on community and showing up for our community. So what are the moments of joy that we can create, right? It's not all about being salesy. It's also about how do we bring people together? What are like the moments of connection and closeness that we can create? That could be a pop-up. That could be an online cooking class with cookies. Like last year, we had 200 people join a saffron honey cookie making class online. Things like that. And it's just trying to create, I almost think of it as like a circle of care. So it's salesy products, community-based products. How does our community care team message so that, you know, if there's delays, if there are deadlines, if there's anything that our customers need to know, we're over communicating that to them. Often we'll do pre-orders for stuff. So it's like people ordered cookie tins for the holidays, these beautiful bespoke hand-painted cookie tins. They ordered them in June for December delivery. So then our customer care team is emailing them 3 times during that waiting period, being like, don't worry, like this one month your cookies were hand painted, or like this month your cookies are being baked, like details like that. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I think something that I heard with the cookie tins was like, if you didn't get one, you could be part of the cooking class, or like, is the cooking class, you know, there's kind of like that, it might be a limited product, but then you kind of get the consolation prize, but which is a really cool, like, you know, in real time experience. So is that kind of something that, you know, you try to do for your community?
I mean, I think we've run into this time and time again where like we don't want to create scarcity anxiety around the holidays, you know, like it's a time where that's not how we want to play. That's an awful way to be like, if you don't do it now, like that's not what we want to do. But at the same time, we're dealing in really limited, like bespoke, artisan, handmade objects that our artisans in Kashmir started painting these cookie tins in January, and like 6 artisans have been working round the clock since January to paint, I think, 2,000 cookie tins for December. Right. So there is an element of some people will not get these tins that want them. So then we always have to have what is the backup of what can we offer people if they don't get this thing. Right. And it's, what about the class that teaches you how to make the cookies? Or another example is we made these salt tigers that are like essentially clay tigers that you can like fit your salt in. And it's very easy to essentially reach in and grab your salt while you're cooking. Again, crazy handmade process. I think this year we only were able to make 700 despite these prodders working round the clock for the past year. Therefore, some people were left unhappy, and we had to be like, what if you made your own salt tiger? Like, what if you go to a pottery class and learn how to make it? So yeah, just trying to create moments of, you're still making people feel connected.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I like that the updates that you give them, you know, while they're waiting for it, they know that these are being crafted by folks, and, you know, there's this process to it. So I love that you really are bringing folks into, you know, everything about your business and what we do and your product and how they're made. So I guess going back to maybe some in-person events and pop-ups, how do you kind of plan the programming around that? And what are the goals when you're showing up somewhere and meeting folks IRL?
So I think it's pretty data driven. Like it's intuition meets data. So when we were choosing New York, we had our Shopify data, which showed that outside of the Bay Area, where a lot of our team is based, or really outside of California, New York was our biggest market. So it was a no-brainer that if we're going to do a pop-up somewhere, it's going to be New York. That the data was clear there. Next, I think it's who are the brands that are local to that area that we consider friends and peers, and how do we bring them into the space, because we know that they'll bring their community in too, right, and expand our reach of who comes into the space. So like one night we just brought in all of these super cool South Asian fashion brands and turned it into like a South Asian fashion night. What do spices and South Asian fashion have in common? Not much, besides like origin. But it was exactly the crowd of people that we wanted, you know? I will say there are some events that like intuitively felt right to me. that bombed. So like we wanted to do a sari draping workshop because I felt like so many South Asians love saris but don't know how to drape them because that's not knowledge that was necessarily passed down. 3 people signed up. It was really awkward. But you know, you learn, and like that's also why we use Eventbrite so much. Is like we have pre-orders and like we pre-sell tickets for absolutely everything. So when only 3 tickets sell, you know to not host the event. It's like, so sorry, we're canceling. Whereas we had other events where we had like 600 RSVPs. You know, like we had a zine night where Cherry Bomb, Whetstone, Mold, and Cake, like 4 different like independent zine publishers, all came together, and we had crazy amount of RSVPs. That like the space was flooded all night. So yeah, it's a mix of like my MO with the brand has always been like, what do I want, right? Like I am in many ways the target audience, and also using Shopify, Instagram, newsletter to actively poll our audience and our customers and say, what do you guys want? We were doing Instagram polls. We were doing like write us via the newsletter of like stores we should like visit while we're in town. So it's just talking to our community as much as possible and realizing like just our intuition of like being our ideal customer is not enough.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I think it's great that you have all of these like, you know, spice adjacent kind of experiences and ways to like tie it into, I was going to mention the zines, really, really rad that you're doing that. But yeah, I mean, even though your Sari event, you know, kind of bombed, as you said, I mean, I think that there's that intention and that consumers see, you know, your fans see like what you're doing and seeing that you are like you said, packing all of these events into the pop-ups. I think that still goes a long way for consumers and how they think about your brand. So, I mean, that's really, really, really great. And like you said, you look at the research and whatnot to then kind of double down on certain things.
I have one more addition, which I think is like most of my team and myself, we all come from a hospitality and food service background. Like we're the ex-line cooks, ex-waitresses, all that. And I think we approach everything with a hospitality mindset. So, you know, when we had the pop-up, we had on our first opening day, we had a line 2 blocks down and around the block, which we did not see coming at all. It was chaos. And it was a cold, rainy December day. And so immediately the team mobilized of like, we quickly ran to a store, we bought trays, and we were taking little like taster cups of hot chai all the way down the line to everybody in the line. And there was a feeling of like, they're waiting in the cold, let's take care of them. And then that worked so well, and it won us so much favor with people that then every day of the pop-up in the mornings, we offered free chai samples to people just because it was cold outside and we wanted to warm them up. So I think applying that like South Asian hospitality, generosity mindset, and bringing that into what could otherwise just be a regular like transaction has also a pretty big difference.
Yeah, that's really sweet. And when you have all these new customers that are brought in, you know, from these events or whatnot, or even, you know, I guess online and some of the on the retail side and some of those really, really cool products, like how do you kind of track that? You know, Q4 is so big. How do you kind of double down on that momentum throughout the year? And maybe even like, how many customers do you kind of look to gain every holidays?
I mean, I think it averages about for us. I mean, it's been growing over the years, but like last year, I would say we probably got like 15K customers at the end of Q4. Wasn't that good of a year? It's not a good number.
Oh, okay. I mean, it sounded impressive to me. I was like, that's a lot of people.
But like, you know, I know that we got out of those 15K, about 3 or 4K was via Eventbrite signup. So like, I remember at the end of January, I was like, anybody we had in pop-up RSVPs, I want to make sure those people are getting onto our newsletter flow, and we're sending them a flow about who we are as a brand and getting them like, we know that once we have a customer in our system, we know how to keep them. Like as a brand, we have a 76% returning customer rate, which is super high. So we've proven that if we've got you, we can keep you. And I think it's just constantly creating those moments of like, maybe you need a spice to restock right now. Great, here's the spices you should buy. And like, here's all the recipes you should need. And just finding touch points constantly to be useful to them.
Yeah, no, I'm realizing from this conversation, there are so many like spice adjacent ways to like tap into it. You know, spice is, you know, everywhere. And that's really, really cool how you kind of tap into that and nurture that kind of flow of the folks you're connecting with. one last question. So when you have those fans that are super loyal to Diaspora Co., how do you leverage them to spread the word, and what do you kind of see in terms of that kind of domino effect?
A couple different things. One, we have a Discord channel that we started about 2 years ago, and it's got 2,500 people on there, which so not that much, like out of our total customer base, it's about 1% to 2%, but they're super fans. So like on launch day, they're all gaming like what's in their carts. They like help each other out. They help us build FAQs. They're literally the UGC that we get from that Discord channel is what we then use on Instagram. It's pretty special. So Discord has been one, and I think it's just been like there's no ads, there's no algorithm. It's just for super fans. So that's one. I think the second one of how we kind of keep those super fans engaged, I don't know. My suspicion is that we give them the cooking classes, which is once every quarter. And like that's so I have no ability to keep secrets at all. And so when I'm on those cooking classes, I'm always spilling the beans on like any new launch, any top secrets, like anything coming. And I think that keeps people feeling like they know us, right? And so, it might only be 200 to 300 people joining those Zoom calls, but those are the folks that are most going to then be our ambassadors and talk about us. So it always feels worthwhile.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much about Diaspora Co. We have a live Q&A after this, so you can spill more beans. People are going to be asking questions, trying to find out what is the next launch and what are the next products to drop from Diaspora Co. So thank you so much, Sana, and we're looking forward to talking to you more soon.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Sana. I loved hearing about how your company connects with your consumers and build community with them in so many different channels. I mean, from social media, email, to your Discord channel, and of course, in person at your pop-ups. Really cool. Here are 3 insights from my conversation with Sana. First one is personalize your strategy with both data and experience. Sana understands her consumer through and through with data from sales and social media, but also from her own experience as the ideal customer. Create a strategy that's found in your data, but also get creative and think of ideas that are personal from your experience. Second insight is approach events with a hospitality mindset. Put yourself in the shoes of everyone, from your biggest fans to the ones who are checking out your event for the first time. Create an experience that's inclusive and welcoming, giving everyone a warm and positive interaction every time you meet. And last but not least, build anticipation, like lean into storytelling to keep people engaged. Diaspora Co.'s limited handmade products have longer lead times than a consumer might expect. So Sana tells the story of how it's being made. If you have a long build up to your product or event, find ways to increase those touch points and tell the story of the process. Everyone will love to be brought into the fold and anticipate what's to come next. So I wanted to thank you again, Sana, for joining us from Mumbai. If you haven't already, please let us know in the chat your favorite gems that were dropped from that conversation. And right now, we're about to bring all 3 of our guests onto our virtual stage so we can ask them some of your questions. If you haven't already, please start dropping in your questions in the tab below this video. And while we wait, we'd love for you to take our survey. You'll see that 3rd tab just below this video. This really helps us ensure that we're making the kind of content you need. So please fill out our survey. Thanks. Now that we have our questions marinating in the chat, let's bring out our speakers. I'd like to welcome Kae Burke, Harry Weil, and Sana Javeri Kadri. Welcome, welcome.
Great to be here.
We have such creative folks here, and we have 2 folks from Brooklyn representation. We got Mumbai / Bay Area in the house, so love that all you are here. I enjoyed all of your conversations. Everybody in the chat really loved it. We have a bunch of questions. Folks want to know so many things about everything: nightlife, beehives, spice trade. Really, their questions are bubbling. So, Kae, first up, how many people are you ideating with when you come up with a concept?
Ooh, that's a great question. It really depends. It's when we have our more formal planning meetings, our calendar meetings, That has about 5 to 6 people in it, and that can be the booking team, because they're the ones that actually have to book the DJs and the co-promoters. We have our creative producer who has to book the performers and is really in touch with the actual entertainers and talent. And then some owners. I'm one of the co-founders and owners, but also some of my other owners are very welcome, especially if they have the time and are inspired. So I'd say about 5 or 6.
Cool. Nice. And Harry, how do you incentivize volunteers to work for free? Stipend? Anything like that?
No stipend. And, I feel really lucky that so many of them love Greenwood and they want to give their time. And sometimes it's just for an hour or two, or sometimes they're there for longer events for 6 to 7 hours. We also have started introducing giving free tickets to events. So if they work one night of the event, they get tickets for free for that, or they get tickets for a trolley tour later in the year. So we want them to keep coming back. And we also do it with food and snacks, and everyone loves pizza. And also, people go crazy for Gatorade, something we've just discovered. People love hydrating things. So even not that I'm endorsed by Liquid IV, but they love Liquid IV. So if you give people 4 or 5 Liquid IVs, that can get them through any program.
Wow. Liquid IV. Shout out to Liquid IV. All right. Sana, there was a question here. You mentioned, you did your 13-day New York pop-up. You're doing LA this year. How do you prioritize where and when to kind of feature those pop-up series?
So we've built up our newsletter list to be our email list to be pretty big. It's our primary revenue generator, but also, the way that we really connect with our audience. So we send a newsletter once or twice a week on average. At least one of those is personally written by me. So we're really talking to them. And that one is where we'll feature these events. And then we also have a nice big Instagram presence. And again, always stayed very personally involved with it. So people feel like they're talking to humans, not just a brand pushing sales onto them or pushing events onto them. So even now with the algorithm, when there's an event, I will usually pop on with my face being like, hi guys, here's this event. Here's why we're doing it. We would love to see you. Here's what you can expect from it.
Nice. Cool. And when is the LA one happening?
This weekend. And I won't be there sadly, but some of our team members will, and we're taking a lot of products that are super new and haven't shipped to customers yet. So that's, bait as well, where people are like, I want the hot cocoa so bad.
Nice. Well, I'm in LA, so I'll have to go check it out for sure.
It's on Abercrombie, go.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. Another question here. I talked about big email lists. I think Harry had answered one of those questions in the chat. How do you kind of keep nurturing your list, your email list to kind of grow and add folks to it? Whether it's Kae or Sana, whoever, Kae.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We actually just did one today, which is a lot of times we do early bird ticket drops. First access is a tried and true method to really reward people. And one thing we've also observed is being very clear with, hello, you're receiving this email because you're a subscriber. And otherwise they just think they're like, oh, it's just another promo email. But it's no, you are super special. Thank you for reading our emails. Here's your gift. You get half price tickets. So we do this sort of surprise drops that really, absolutely helps.
Nice.
Yeah, we work with a lot of local organizations. So we promote their events and then they'll promote ours. And it's a way to direct traffic to our website. And of course, the first pop-up on our website is, you should join our email list so you can stay up to date all the time.
Nice.
I have the exact same thing, which is, you consistently train people that you want something early, newsletter. You want a discount, newsletter, and find as many email collection points as well. So, for us, it's obviously Shopify. Anytime somebody places an order, every event via Eventbrite, social media, anything we post of oh my God, this is coming soon. You want it? Newsletter. And then finally, we do newsletter giveaways with other brands. And it helps, it's a little tack, I will admit, but we will partner with a brand that has, 1 million subscribers, and we'll do a giveaway for a really exciting product hamper. And we can sometimes, like in a good situation, get like 20,000 emails via that. Not all of those people will stick around, and we'll usually run them through our welcome flow that introduces them to the brand and gives them multiple opportunities to leave if they would like. And so we'll see a high unsubscribe rate from that first 20K that come in. But then we've proven that our welcome flow is like all heart and pretty good, so they stay.
Nice. And I mean, you three all have really incredible, creative, cool out there ideas that have been successful. But for the folks that are just starting out, that are thinking about something interesting to do for the holidays, how do you know an idea is something you should invest in and build, or if it's a flop and to pivot from it?
Are you talking about before the event is live or once the event has been launched?
Maybe once the event has been launched and you got a low turnout the first time around and you're like, should I even be doing this? Should I build into it? Because I think that you have such a creative, cool, night concepts that's like, it might be new to that person or whatever, new to the folks that are attending. Like, how do you kind of tell that story a bit more if it flopped?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because House of Yes we're coming up on our 8th year. And so we do have a sort of expectation. There is data, so to speak, as to when you see that an event has gained interest, not that it has to go viral. Sometimes our events go viral, yay. But we're like, okay, this is tracking. It's tracking well. It's looking like it's going towards a regular mark of success. And then sometimes we're like, especially when we're being experimental and we're taking risks into new concepts and themes. And we will see, you're like, oh, wow, we really thought this was going to be a slam dunk. And it's more of like a slow dribble. And that's okay. Like we have like 10 events a week and not everyone's a slam dunk. And that's okay.
Yeah, I actually moved us to the kitchen of the office to show y'all some of the success and failure. So like our mortar and pestle, big success. Meanwhile, this little chai caddy, which is for carting chai around, not so much.
Really?
I mean, it's cute, but it didn't go viral and sell thousands of units, whereas a mortar and pestle a little bit more accessible and easy. And I think that's where for us pre-orders make a difference is we're not overproducing at all. We're only producing what there's demand for. And then you wait 3 to 6 months for it. And then that builds hype for the next drop. Totally. So otherwise, as a small business, you can waste so much money on inventory and really that can sink you.
Yeah. No, I think that was like a really cool takeaway from just hearing you speak about, because you're working with product timelines and work back timelines on that, plus an event, plus a pop-up. So I can only imagine the crazy amount of juggling y'all do and planning. I do have one more question from Vanessa Flowers. Do you personally charge for the cooking classes you host virtually? What does that look like?
That's a good question. So we have something called a masala dabba that we sell on our website. It's a $200 brass hand-spun container that's made to store your spices. It's a very traditional South Asian thing that's been used for thousands of years. And we know it's a commitment, right, to spend $200 on spice storage effectively. So something that we offered people is if you buy a masala dabba, you get free cooking classes for the rest of eternity. So you get a little special code that you can use. So you're investing in us, we're investing right back in you. If you don't have a masala dabba or you haven't spent, I think the threshold is $200 with us in the year. So if you have a dabba or you spent $200, you're in Club Masala, you get free classes. If you don't have that, then it's $15 per session. And we donate all the proceeds from that $50 to some kind of organization that we care about. It's usually, something queer related or immigrant related, or, something that relates to our politics and current events. And we've been able to raise pretty decent chunks of money. It's usually about $2 to $3K per class, which adds up.
For sure. Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap. But any last words of wisdom, Harry? Anything else you want to add? Really,
actually going off that last question, we always, really have great, pardon the expression, postmortems after an event, and we talk with the whole team and get everyone's feedback. We don't let haters on Instagram and social media, sort of get us down. So there are definitely valid comments in there, but there are definitely going to be people who just love to use Instagram and social media to complain. So just sorting through the negative feedback is always important for us when we're evaluating programs.
Cool. Kae, how do you handle the haters? Do you have haters?
About this day, of course. I mean, you get to be a certain level of popularity, and you can't please everybody, and you just have to, sift through it. And sometimes it takes a bit of intuition too to understand what is somebody just spewing their negativity, and when your beloved audience is actually drawing something to your attention.
No, for sure. Like constructive versus just some haterism. But thank you so much. I mean, you three were such a great group. So many cool creative, ideas and concepts and immersive experiences. So thank you, Kae. Thank you, Harry. And thank you, Sana, for joining us for Reconvene sessions today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thanks so much.
Awesome. See y'all. So make sure you follow them on socials. Like I said, their social media presence is really incredible. It's really just vivid, and you could really get a piece of the experience and see more into what they're all programming. So it's really, really rad. So we're going to do a full recap of today's conversation and the key takeaways for all of you in the audience today. So please look out for that in your inbox and on Eventbrite's blog to access recordings from today's conversations and summaries by our editors. As our speakers head out, let's give it up for everybody who joined us today. Thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, and all of the helpful tips and strategies. Everyone, please give them a follow on socials and check out their events. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.